Munn's delightful Vignettes from Indian Wars, 1933, Sampson Low. And much sporting and natural history detail I have taken from Major A. E. Wardrop's Modern Pig-Sticking, 1914, Macmillan. Most notably the incident of the Fusunded Elephant. Those of less sanguinary inclination should not be put off by its title. The book is an evocation of the Indian countryside, the like of which I know not. As for the whole business of English attitudes to India at the time, I have consulted the usual references. But specifically military attitudes required something else. It seems that fighting men were reluctant to commit to paper any deep feelings. For instance, the Duke of Wellington's many letters at the time of his regimental command there are almost exclusively concerned with campaign narrative and political speculation. And in this connection, I freely acknowledge my debt to, and strongly commend by way of further reading, the work of Anthony Bennell, whose scholarly The Maratha War Papers of Sir Arthur Wellesley, 1999, Sutton, and The Making of Arthur Wellesley, 1998, Orient Longman, root things firmly in military reality. For me, however, there is a sort of Rosetta Stone when trying to decode the subject attitudes. This is Francis Yates Brown's remarkable Bengal Lancer, 1930. Yates Brown joined the Indian cavalry at the beginning of this century. His experiences were therefore closer in time to those of Matthew Hervey than they are to the reader of today. His candour is, I believe, for the time unique. And although the great mutiny of 1856 swept aside much of what was the way of things under John Company, my belief is that Yates Brown is not untypical of a thinking, sensitive officer of the earlier period. Readers who know his work will recognise the source of some of the imagery, tensions, and incidents in my story. In addition to Bengal Lancer, I have had the great privilege to know, for the past 20 years, Lieutenant Colonel Douglas Grey, late of Skinner's Horse. His regiment, in Hervey's day irregular cavalry, but later incorporated into the line as Bengal Lancers, was, still is, of unsurpassed romance and efficiency. Douglas Grey, the sole surviving winner of the legendary Kadir Cup, the blue riband of hog hunting, also knew Yates Brown. And during the many, many hours I have spent listening to him speaking of India, I have come to the view that soldiers, horses, and the heat and dust of the subcontinent are a widow's cruise of romance, while, I hope, not forgetting the less romantic side that Kipling so famously portrayed. I have also had the privilege of listening to many of Colonel Grey's contemporaries, and of reading their memoirs, privately printed. There emerged a picture of the India of 70 years ago, and in my contention, therefore, closer to the time of my story than to now, that was remarkably consistent. But I am more than conscious that they are men forged in a very different world, and therefore that it is important to keep a respectful distance from any idea that one might know how people really felt. I could only expect to learn what they thought, and how they acted. It is to these officers that my book is with admiration dedicated. There is, of course, another side to the fence, as it were, the Indian soldier. I have had the great good fortune to spend many hours, too, in the company of Colonel, now Major General, T.P.S. Brar, not a cavalryman, but a Sikh officer of the Maratha Light Infantry. Also with Colonel M.S. Mahaisalkar, conversely a Maratha serving with the Sikh regiment. Colonel Brar's late father, whom I knew and revered, had been one of the first Indian cadets at Sandhurst in the 20s, and the first Indian officer to command a regiment of infantry in the Second World War. The Brar caste is the most illustrious of the military castes, and father and son always spoke freely and candidly, and allowed me to consult their distinguished family archives in Chandigarh, on which my climactic battle scene is based. In addition, Colonel Mahaisalkar abrupt.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.